Hola. Hola, Copasa. I think I slaughtered that. Yes, this is my second video in one day. As I've mentioned, there are quite a lot of things that took a back burner in my life in the last couple weeks. And one thing that people know that are really close to me, that many of you may not know, is I don't ever do tarot readings for other people or come on here and make a video without walking a minimum of 8 miles. So that's why I haven't been making videos. That's why I haven't been doing tarot readings. I'm back to videos. I'm back to tarot readings. If you're looking for a tarot reading, you can message me on this video. I will put information in the description box below if that's something you are interested in. I had to make sure that I was completely and totally ready to jump back into all of this. And in the last couple of weeks, I've done some very fun one-card pool readings for many of you. That was like a special that I was offering on my Facebook channel. Today, what I want to talk about in this video is the wisdom that comes from the archetypes, from all the beautiful stories that we've heard from Greek mythology, the Bible, and any other stories alive and well on this planet. Served a very beautiful and do serve a very beautiful, a very conduit energy, a very open gateway for us to connect with parts and pieces of ourselves. This is going to be maybe a little bit of a challenging dialogue for me to get out, but I want to share it with you nevertheless because I feel that it's really, really greatly important. We've all seen it on social media, the amount of people that have Mary Magdalene in their name or for their name on Facebook, or Athena, or Zeus, or Archangel Michael, or any of these other magnificent archetypes that came before us. Now, the reason that I've never changed my name on social media to incorporate a being or a fractal of energy that came to assist me was because I knew that that was not actually me, but an energy or a wisdom that came to assist me. Now, we can be greatly assisted by the stories that we read, the books that we read, the things that we read on the internet or social media. They can be a real catalyst for change, for inspiration, for drive, for motivation, for other things. And so we are gifted with these characters or these archetypes, if you will, that help us overcome any kind of stumbling block and give us a greater wisdom and a greater set of truth and a higher point of observation in this beautiful time of ascension. So I am going to tell you briefly how this happened and how this worked for me. It's a little bit of a rough story to tell, perhaps because things about it are very emotional. Not only are things about this story very emotional for me, again, I connected with that wisdom, with that assistance from these characters or these archetypes, but never took that on as myself. Now, these stories, these archetypes, these amazing characters are here to give us inspiration and motivation and wisdom, not so that we can take their name or make it part of, and I'm not making fun of anyone, something that I've seen thousands and thousands of times on social media. The amount of people on my friends list alone that have Mary Magdalene incorporated into their name or Athena incorporated into their name. Again, they carry us to a place of wisdom. They drop a divine seed of knowledge within this that is a tool for assistance. Their intention in this is never for us to try to become them or strive to become them or lose ourselves in the process, which I know sometimes does happen. In about 2014 or 15-ish, this is a long story. I'm going to try to compact it the best way I can. I was talking to off-planet beings, which I've been doing. I don't remember ever not doing it. Let me put it that way. The people I speak to, the names I'm referred to, the characters or archetypes that they refer to me as are not something that I ever share, because I looked at that as a tool. Like tarot cards are a tool, right? They're not. Tarot cards are not Tina Hammond. They are a tool that Tina Hammond uses. So I never wanted to back myself into a limited corner of understanding while using that other character or being or archetype's energy or wisdom. I never wanted to take that on and try to become that archetype, because for me, that's a reversal. And that's a reversal to me for two different reasons. So these characters, these archetypes, are actually built into our DNA. If you were to look at stories from all over this planet and probably other planets as well, you would see a repeating theme of different archetypes. And in different cultures and different religions, these people are given different names sometimes, but the energy, the wisdom, the clarity, what comes from them will be the same. So these characters or these archetypes are actually built into our DNA. So as our DNA starts to turn on, we become connected to these archetypes. It may not happen with the same strength or fervor with everyone that it does with certain people. But again, the main component here is to access the divine wisdom and the lesson and what it is you're being taught, instead of trying to reverse out of Tina Hammond and into Athena or Mary Magdalene or anyone else that I've ever been. So these characters, these archetypes are part of our DNA. As you know, our DNA is turning on, it's expanding, it's coming out of the dark, so to speak. And this eclipse energy is going to bring a lot of DNA activations out of the dark. Essentially, the light will be blocked for 80 minutes. That gives us internally a time to reset. So on the other side of this eclipse and up until the next 6 months, these archetypal figures that have been here with their stories to drop wisdom, to drop seeds, to drop packages of knowledge to you are going to become more and more turned on. At this point, you are more likely to pick up something from Archangel Michael one day, turn around and have a connection to Athena another day. And so it's a shorter process. You may not experience this the way I experience this. So it's built into our DNA. These archetypes, these characters, these stories are built into our DNA so that we connect with them. As you know, science calls, I believe, about 90-something% of our DNA junk DNA. As we well know, it's not junk DNA. I will take that a step further and say that it's not something that may ever be physically turned on. So you can't say, okay, well, now we're at 5% capacity using our DNA, but 2 years from now, we'll be at 100%. Because I don't believe all 100% ever come to physical fruition. I believe the fractals within our DNA that hold these characters, these archetypes, these lessons, they are a package. So part of what is in our DNA will be a metaphysical change or a metaphysical shift in frequency. Part of what gets turned on in our DNA will be an upgrade that you will not necessarily not only feel when it turns on, but you may never experience it in the 3D, because that part of the DNA does not correspond to anything within the 3D DNA or within the avatar. I hope this makes sense. So let's say like clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. Say those things are not physical, even though we feel them in a physical way. They are not actually physical. Okay, they're spiritual or metaphysical or energetic. So while these DNAs in conjunction or connection with the archetypal character will come online for you, it's not something that physically comes online for you. So a big portion of our DNA being turned on is actually about what we are energetically capable of, and about what on a frequency bandwidth we are capable of. So if you were to go get your DNA measured, if there was equipment, and there probably is for that, to measure your DNA, let's say you're actually using 30% of your DNA and not the 5% they think we're using. What I'm saying to you is that still may not show up on a test as you being 30% in the use of your full capacity of DNA, because I don't believe they can test for something that is solely energetic or etheric. So these characters, these archetypes are built into our DNA. As our DNA turns on, we receive the wisdom, or we receive the story to give us the higher vantage point of our lives. So what we connect with within our DNA, what turns on for us, depends on person to person, what you need, what you're working on, what you've asked for, what your general state of awareness is about what you are maneuvering through, where your guidance is coming from, and those sorts of things. So while the character or the archetype is connected directly internally with your motherboard, if you will, of DNA, the spectrum of which you are capable when you are connected to the quantum field of unlimited potential, there is also another scenario here that's really important. We use this information and these stories to connect with the mission or the job or the accomplishment or the goal, however you would like to look at it, of what it is that we are currently going through. Now, at this time, there are going to be a whole host of people going through a whole host of things simultaneously, hence probably 30,000 people on Facebook with the middle name of Athena, Mary Magdalene, Joan of Arc, any other great, amazing archetypes. Again, not to get lost in the archetype, but to use the seed of connection they've given us within our DNA to understand the story that is maneuvering us to the highest version of ourself and the highest version of the timeline for humanity as a whole, and for planet Earth, and for the galaxy, and that radiates out into the omniverse. My wish, dream, and desire is not to lose you in the aspect, but I'm going to explain to you how this happened to me in hopes that there's a better understanding of why these archetypes were built into our DNA to assist us and to drop the seed that when the right environment hit our capacity physically and our mental awareness, we could connect fully and take advantage of this divine wisdom that has been built into the motherboard of our system. It's amazing. Okay, so besides the fact that the archetype is in the DNA and turning on or already turned on for you, pre-birth to our human form, an archetype can also decide to incarnate into two bodies. So Athena, for example, could say, I'm going to incarnate into the physical avatar of Tina Hammond and someone else simultaneously. Now, I'm not saying that is the case, because I will never tell you that I know the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I know a small portion of what I am capable of understanding within my awareness from a higher vantage point and my connection to the unlimited potential within the quantum field. So little parts and pieces are all I ever deliver to you. But pre-birth, Athena, or any energetic archetype that is stored within the Akashic record, which is both within the planet Earth's crystalline core and within your DNA, that embodiment of that person, that archetype, that seed of wisdom, can decide to incarnate into two people. Let's say Athena decides this is a two-person job, or Athena decides this is a job for 33,000 people. That person, that being, that ascended consciousness can fractalize itself off into as many beings or as many incarnates within an avatar that it wants to. And I believe that is exactly what has happened in the case of Athena, Mary Magdalene, and many others. So pre-birth to our human form and archetype and ascended awareness, consciousness, potential of the unlimited in the quantum field can fractalize itself into multiple beings on Earth. It also leaves an energetic imprint within our DNA that gets turned on, and it also leaves a double of itself, or a duplicate or a replication of itself within the Akashic field. So you can see that they definitely really thought this plan out of how to help us by connecting with seeds of wisdom and stories of these amazing beings that have gone before us. Again, the point is never to lose ourselves in the amazing, open, expanded consciousness of another being that came before us, but to use their seed and their wisdom to maneuver through the ascension, help the planet and all of humanity with this wisdom. So, an energy of a character, of an archetype, could choose to fractal into 100 different bodies, okay? Whatever this energetic light body felt was necessary to accomplish, quote, the plan, that is how many people they would fractalize into. So I have always been like this. I've talked about this on a couple of occasions. I came in completely turned on and shut it off, and had to learn how to reincorporate it once I accepted what I was, what I am, and what I will always be. Now, that can be hard if you come in completely open. The children now are coming in completely open as well, but they don't have that filter or that memory bog that some of us have about being burned at the stake, or other kinds of things that happened to us that left a cellular imprint that made it harder to get back to who we are as a source being of God, right? So pre-birth now, children are coming in turned on and they don't care, but that was not the situation when I was a child. So I have always been the receptacle for this information in order for me to learn how to get along or copacetically fit in with the mass public and not be so extremely different. I mean, I look incredibly different than a lot of people, and being incredibly different on top of it as a young person, I didn't feel was very helpful to me. So I pushed that away. So what I needed at the time, when I really started amping up on my personal messages and my global messages that I was to share, I was having an issue with doing that. I was having an issue in self-confidence with doing that. I was having an issue with the remembrance of being burned at the stake and doing that. So there were all these things that were coming up for me. In 2016, I got myself into a group, a Facebook group called Cosmic Voice, and it was all over the place, A to Z, from Archangel Michael's to conspiracy theories that may still to this day blow your mind. Nevertheless, I got into that group with the intention of being the reader that I always was, not speaking. Not speaking about this, but kind of absorbing the information and really enjoying the fact that there was this huge group of people that were sharing this incredible stuff. I found an absolutely incredible place to hide myself and my gifts and just kind of listen and observe and note that there were at last what finally seemed like a group of people on my wavelength. And that was amazing for me. And almost immediately, within a matter of weeks of being within that group, I was contacted. Again, these are going to be things that I've never talked about before. The reason why I don't talk about certain things or I don't mention names, like let's say a couple of years ago on Christmas Eve, I got a message from Jesus and Mary Magdalene. I put that out as my message from my higher self. I did not put that out as a message from Jesus and Mary. The reason why I did not do that is because my conscious awareness understood the fact that some people would hear the word Jesus or hear the word Mary and be so elated that they would miss the message. On the other side of that coin, there are people that weren't brought up that way or didn't have the understanding of that story or of that archetype, and so therefore would disregard it. So the many messages I've received from all kinds of beings for many, many years, I have always just put the message out instead of saying where this story came from or where this wisdom dropped into me from, because I wanted to encourage that the message be heard and not judged upon the name. Having said that, I'm going to say a lot of things that I've never said to you before. So I joined this group, Cosmic Voice. It's not that I could give myself a voice, but so that I could listen to other people express their voices without condemnation. And that was an incredible gift for me. I was there for a very short time when Ashtar came to me, and he had been speaking to me on and off since around the beginning of 2014. In the end of 2015 or end of 2016, I had an experience that still to this day gives me the chills, and that's the experience I'm going to share with you now. I had a very physical job, so every day after work, I got home around 4:30-ish, and I would lay down and do a meditation, and then I would go run 9 miles after that meditation. This particular day, I laid down and I felt like I was leaving my body, not as an astral travel, as in maybe I was dying. I had nothing else to equate it to because I'd been astral traveling since I was a child, and this didn't feel like that. So I was scared and I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't know what was going on. And my initial thoughts were things like, I live by myself. People don't call me that often. People don't visit me that often. What if I'm dying? No one's going to find me for weeks. I mean, all this crazy crap was going through my head right as I'm laying there. And initially it started out as I felt like some group of beings was pulling on my energetic frequency and trying to pull me out of my body. The question was, or the problem, my hesitation was, what is the energy that's doing this? Who is this? What is their intent for this? So I laid there going around and around in my head about it for a very long time before I finally, the light bulb went off and I thought, oh, I think somebody just wants me on the other side of this veil, so to speak, to have a conversation with me. I'm not dying. My family's not going to find me 4 weeks from now. I mean, I just never experienced anything of this magnitude. And so my mind was racing through scenarios. I relaxed and I realized, oh, and then I verbally expressed, is someone just wanting to have a conversation with me and shortly, and then I'm coming back? Yes. I heard yes. So then I said, okay. Immediately I was sucked to the other side. This was in broad daylight. Like I said, just doing a meditation before I went for a 9-mile run. When I said okay to it, I immediately got sucked to this other side. I saw Ashtar, I saw Archangel Michael, and I saw Jesus. In fact, every time I ever saw Ashtar after that, Jesus was always beside him. Ashtar was always the talker, the military person. That's where my military information has come from for the last umpteen years, or initially that's how it started. I don't know initially how I was able to tap into this, but I somehow was overhearing whistleblower information to Corey Good, to David Wilcock, and to a couple of other people. Now, those people stood out to me because I was following and reading David Wilcock, so I knew that when I got the message and then he published the message 2 weeks later that, oh crap, this is coming from David Wilcock or David Wilcock's Insider, something like that. I don't fully understand that connection, but this is a soul group connection, and some of those people are archetypes on the other side, but some of those people are living, breathing light beings in a body like David Wilcock and the rest of you, that I just end up there. Okay, this is not something I ever tried to do or started to do. So two different things. The DNA is turning on and connecting us to the archetypal stories that can assist us, and pre-birth to the human form, the archetype energetic frequency decided itself to fractalize into the Akashic record, into our DNA, and into the human form as well. Now, I don't know whether I am just one of the fractals of Athena, or it's just in my DNA, or I am part of an incarnation. I don't know the answer to that, and it doesn't really matter to me. The matters to me is the story and the guidance and the assistance that is given to me. So when I'm taken on the other side and I see Ashtar, he tells me that there is a security concern for planet Earth. This was end of 2000, I want to say end of December 2015, or maybe January 2016. So right at the beginning of 2016. He told me that the reason he pulled me to the other side was to tell me there was a security concern for Earth. So now I'm even more confused, because what does a security concern with planet Earth have to do with Tina Hammond? Now, one of my good friends, Herman at the time, who I'm still friends with to this day, actually showed up in that vision. Now, the thing was, Ashtar is trying to tell me there's a concern for Earth security. And the more information he started to go into, the more nervous I became. Why are you talking to me? People aren't listening to me. I don't have a following. I don't know how you expect me to get this message out. I don't understand why you chose me to do it. Stuff like that is going through my mind, okay? So my friend Herman shows up and leans over into Ashtar and says, call her by Athena. And I said, Herman, what are you doing here? And by the way, I can see you and hear you. But he was not interacting with me at all. Herman didn't know he was there. He didn't have the conscious awareness in the third dimension that he was there. He showed up. He whispered to Ashtar, call her Athena. And Ashtar turned around and looked at me and said, Athena. And I stood up straight, and my normal running clothes, street attire turned into this amazing gown from head to toe. I was dressed like absolute royalty the moment he called me Athena. And then Herman disappeared. He left the scene. He was no longer there, and Ashtar began to commence and speaking to me what the security concern was for Earth. Because Herman and Ashtar had made the suggestion of referring to me as Athena so that I could connect to that goddess of war, that wisdom, that divine power within every speck of my existence. Without connecting to that, I couldn't listen to anything that he was saying to me, and I could not stop the monkey mind from saying, why am I the person to deliver this message about Earth, and how would I even do it? So the message from Ashtar was that they were keeping a very close eye, as they have been for a multitude of years, on planet Earth, and that the opposition had a plasmatic weapon directly aimed at Earth. And the opposition's goal was to jar planet Earth away from the galactic center so that Earth would not return in the ascension process to its rightful home or geographical location within the cosmos. As you can imagine, I'm sitting there with big eyes, kind of wringing my hands and thinking, what am I going to do about this? And I didn't even know at that point. I was pretty ignorant as far as like military strategy, for sure. And also, I didn't know that there were plasmatic weapons. There are so many things about this that I didn't understand. And the biggest thing was why I was chosen to deliver this message. So the message was that there was a plasmatic weapon aimed at Earth. It was to jar us away from being in complete alignment with the galactic center so that Earth would go back to its original timeline without interference. But my concern at this point to them was, wait a second, if there is this kind of weapon aimed at Earth, couldn't that mean that there's a possibility by trying to jar us from the galactic center that they would blow the place to smithereens? And he said, yes, and that's why we've come to you. And I'm like, I am not qualified to rally in a kind of support with my zero following and have anything done with this. And his response to me was, there are thousands upon thousands of people in the Cosmic Voice group that you're in on Facebook. So that's what we are hoping that you will do. And I said, well, how would I even take the information that you've just given to me and make it palatable for anybody without freaking everybody way the heck out? You know, how am I going to do that? And what makes you think I'm capable of doing it? And he said, we don't think you're capable of doing it. We know you're capable of doing it because we know exactly who you are. Even if you don't have the awareness of that yourself at this time, we know who you are and we know that you can do it. And the only thing that we will say to you, of course, you have free will. You don't have to do this. We're hoping you will. We're hoping you will rally a group of people who will listen to you, who will understand the frequency in which you're bouncing this information off of, and that you will ask for protection of planet Earth. So when this weapon is aimed at the planet to jar us from our alignment with galactic core, that it will boomerang back to its inception point of those who wish to control, manipulate, and usurp the population. And I said, how in the world do you think that I am possibly capable of doing this? And Ashtar said to me, pretend this is your 5-year-old child. You've been around a lot of 5-year-old children. Write the article from the perspective that the Earth is a loving, kind, ascending planet that needs a shield right now, and don't go into the negativity of it at all. Just pretend like this is your 5-year-old son and you are asking that 5-year-old child and the rest of the 5-year-old population to protect the planet and bring safety to the planet. And I sat at the dining room table for like an hour and a half thinking, okay, plasmatic weapons. What do I say? Legos? I mean, how do I take plasmatic weapons and ascension and alignment with the new phase and place and reality for planet Earth and the protection needed here into something that's an appropriate, would be appropriate for a 5-year-old's ears to hear. And so I sat with that for about an hour and a half, and I did ended up doing it. And that was the start of the military information. Now, I've been an open conduit for energies, angelic, all kinds of things forever. I don't ever remember not being this way, but I was never ever connected to military information until the end of 2015. So I did it, I wrote it, I posted it, and that's when writing for me started. So they knew within me, I'm not saying I am the physical incarnation of Athena in a human body. I'm not saying I'm not, and I'm not saying I am. I'm not saying there's not 33,000 of us. I'm just telling you the pieces that I do understand and that are in my awareness. I did not have the self-confidence to take in this information and treat humanity like a 5-year-old child in order to protect this planet from what I just spoke about. But I did that anyway, and that's when I started getting information from all kinds of groups of people. That's when I started hearing information from the Spirit Being Alliance, from the Adani, from Mother Mary, all kinds of things just started opening up. So the more I opened up to it, that self-confidence. So they used that archetype of Athena to give me that self-confidence, that athletic composure. And I would run, and I would go out and run. And this is something that was said to me for a year, maybe 2 years before I even got any messages from sorry, I almost said Gonzalo, Apollo. I'm sorry, not Apollo, not Gonzalo. I'm sorry. Before I got any messages from Ashtar, he always used to a voice used to come to me and say, Tina, Athena, Christina, it rhymes. Do you like that? And then for many years later, I just kept getting the same message, Apollo and Athena, Apollo and Athena. I had no idea what it meant, and I went on receiving the messages and military information from 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 4 years. And yeah. So the security concern for Earth, which started at the end of 2015 or beginning of 2016, ended up being a security concern for my physical well-being. And so after 2020, I was cut off from all military operations, specifically military operations. And for the most part, I wasn't really sharing a whole lot of it. I wasn't saying where it came from or anything like that. So in 2020, March 8th of 2020, my mom and I were out walking in the woods, and we got attacked by 2 German Shepherds and 2 pit bulls. And we were like, I don't know, probably almost a mile from the road. I actually took my phone with me on a walk, which I never do. But we'd been attacked by these dogs. Now, when we got attacked by these dogs, my mom actually had a broken ankle and had to have surgery and bolts and rods and all kinds of stuff put into her leg. I was not injured any other than having bruises, but these 4 dogs were on top of us, and I thought our life was gone. Now, the person that had the dogs stood over us and watched the entire attack without doing anything. Come to find out later, he has a Facebook page and he's a dog trainer. He did not whistle or call them off at any point because apparently this was some sort of military operation. Now, me and my mother were knocked down on the Holy Grail property, Grailville in Loveland, in front of the sign that says the Holy Grail shall bring peace and love to earth, shall save this earth, something like that. So we got attacked right in front of the Holy Grail sign. My mother went to the hospital for 2 weeks and I went home. I was very concerned. I locked the doors. I called someone to come over and sit with me, and Ashtar showed up the next day and said, "You will no longer be able to access military information." Now, I have never sat down and tried to access military information. I don't know how I was doing this. It was not intentional, just like sometimes I see into people's lives or I hear people speaking to me when they're thinking about me. Those things are not intentional. They happen. On the day that he came to me, Ashtar came to me and said, "No more military information. We have to protect your life, etc., etc." I had a very long conversation with him about a bunch of questions I had, because when they called me Athena, the only thing I knew was that was somebody from Greek mythology. That is literally all I knew. So I looked it up and found out she was the goddess of war. So I, of course, had many questions for Ashtar. Ashtar said she was not the goddess of war. That was changed, right? That's a control manipulation tactic. She was never the god of war. And he proceeded to tell me who she was. And he said to me, "She is the priest of spoken word." And I said, "Priest, don't you mean priestess?" And he said, "No, I don't mean priestess. I mean priest, because I use the words with clear intent and direction. When I say Athena is the priest of wisdom, the priest of spoken word, I mean she is the priest. The separation, priest, priestess, male, female, it's all totally, it's irrelevant. So he proceeds to tell me not to make the separation between priest and priest, or yin and yang, or male and female, not to make that separation, and reiterate that she is the priest of spoken word, the priest of prayer and actuality, leader of spoken word, leader of prayer. Okay, so goddess of war was not goddess of war. Goddess of war for Athena is not the truth. The truth is she was the leader of spoken word. And why was she the leader of spoken word? And some of this stuff came to me years later. This, which I'm telling you now, is the conversation I had with Ashtar. So the reference to me, whether I'm the fractal, the reincarnation, or one of 33,000 people that embody the energetic blueprint or imprint on a cellular level of Athena, that was brought to me because they're asking me to take care of a security concern for planet Earth. And who was Athena? Athena, remember, was the leader in prayer. She was the one that knew how to take the tough information and make it palatable for the 5-year-old. And that's why they were calling me Athena. So as you can see, our goal would be to use the divine wisdom and the seeds and the knowledge drop within our DNA, within the Akashic record, and within the memory, within the imprint of Earth, all that these wonderful beings in human form came above us. Not to lose my identity as Tina and drop into the identity of Athena, but to use that just like I use tarot cards, just like I use pen and paper when I write a song or a poem to someone. It's a tool to use to maneuver through and get to that point. So interestingly enough, this Athena, Apollo, other things that rhyme with these things have been going on for 6 or 7 years. Well, I had a tarot reading for someone that asked me about the grids, and that was, I think, an hour and a half video with all the information that came through about the grids for this client that I had no idea of. It was so comprehensive that I actually turned that into a video. But some pretty amazing things happened. So this was a reading done without tarot cards. This was a reading done only within the tools that I embody in my own awareness and my own connection to the unlimited potential of the quantum field. When I was a little bit nervous and or struggling with doing this person's reading, I knew they were working, right? But I went to him anyway and said, hey, I'm hanging out in the 12D solar grid. Would you like to come up here and assist me for a minute or energetically be with me so I knew it lent itself. For some reason, I knew calling him in was going to open me up energetically and I was going to receive a lot more understanding than I was receiving by myself. And what I saw was the interaction between the male female presence within the avatar, within ourselves and within each other, was causing a creative spark that was actually causing solar flares. And I think at that time I made a video about that as well. So 6-7 years, this Athena Apollo information was coming through. And then when I did this reading for him, all of this information about the 12D solar grid and the connection to Apollo. So fast forward a couple months later, I have, I think 84 episodes of Ancient Aliens. It's the only thing I ever watch. I don't even watch TV, period. Since 2018, I've been watching nothing but Ancient Aliens to get myself to sleep at night. Okay, they said on Ancient Aliens, the Temple of Apollo, and I believe I had fallen asleep, and immediately I woke up, and then they said the Temple of Apollo housed, and then they shot over to like a scene where the light was coming through the cracks of the temple. I'm not sure it was a temple because it looked more like a cave to me. I'm not sure how the story goes. I'm telling you what I saw or what I experienced. I'm watching Ancient Aliens. They talk about the Temple of Apollo. All of a sudden, I see myself sitting there on some kind of rock or crystal or bench, or maybe I was floating. I'm not sure. And before they said it, I heard you were the Oracle of Delphi receiving messages from Apollo. And I stood straight up out of bed because, again, another connection to Apollo in this sun god energy. Now, I had called my friend Herman after having this vision conversation with Ashtar, after writing the article and posting the need for prayer and protection bubble of light for planet Earth. I called Herman and I said, I just had the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. And I told him the entire story. And I told him that it was his idea. He told Ashtar to call me Athena. And he said, when I moved from South America to California to go to college, I brought my computer with me and I named my computer Athena because that was my connection, my Ethernet connection. To the world in Peru that I left behind, to the world in California. And it was just so strange that he showed up and had named his computer Athena. And then Ashtar proceeds to tell me that not only was Athena an actual light body physical awareness presence in a human avatar, but that she was also the name that had been given to the cosmic grid as well, which at that time I didn't even know there was a cosmic grid. So Athena is the energetic connection to every moon, every star, every sun, every planet, every galaxy, into the infinite abundance of the omniverse. That connection, that reception, that Athena is who or what, or the energetic presence that is the channel, the conduit, the Ethernet for the energy within the entire omniverse, coming from the suns, the moons, the planets, everything. She is what receives the message and dissipates it. And the Oracle of Delphi was receiving direct messages or a direct frequency from Apollo about the changes that were happening energetically on the earth that were coming from the suns and central suns, and the connection to Ra and Apollo and the group of Ra being the same thing. I have no idea about this stuff, you guys. How much of this is, it doesn't even matter to me anymore. It's always shown to us in a way that we can understand. But later I met someone and the same thing started all over again with how it started with me, Tina, Athena, Christina, do you like how that rhymes? And then I met someone and they said his name rhymes with Apollo. And I was like, what? This was the second reading I had done for this person. So he was one of the first people I did readings for. The first week I opened myself to professional tarot readings, he reached out to me and I did a reading. I went back to his original reading and it predicted the two of us meeting and the overwhelm that he was going to feel from that, and maybe the lack of control, or when some cosmic gift happens, we can't control that, right? But I went back to this person's reading after all of the information about Apollo and the Oracle of Delphi and Athena and all of these connected messages I've been receiving for 6 years through the connection of the Akashic record and the Athenic connection, as I call it, that has also been switched on in my DNA. And a lot has come through in the last couple weeks. That's why I'm back here. Uno, dos, tres, cuatros, right? Second time's a charm for today. I have so many things that have come through that I would not share until I was capable of walking my 8-mile journey. As again, I never ever do live videos without walking 8 miles, and I never read anyone's tarot cards without walking 8 miles because I insist on being a clear conduit. What I saw today and in the last couple of days, when looking at the connection between Athena and Apollo, because believe me, it is not what you've been told it was, not that it matters, and the connection to the Oracle of Delphi, I saw that the Oracle of Delphi was receiving those messages about the solar cycles and things from Apollo. And then I found out the channeled messages from Socrates, the octaves, the musical scale, the whole Western musical system came from Apollo, you guys. And I know the whole blue wave, Blu-ray frequency is so connected, so astutely and amazingly connected to this musical awareness. Like there's not one person Blu-ray that I've ever met that didn't play the guitar or the piano, even if they were not taught. They just did it instinctively or creatively, or had some kind of singing voice. But what I've seen in the last couple of days is it was a two-way connection between the Oracle of Delphi and Apollo. It wasn't just Apollo giving an energy update to somebody on the ground, as they made it seem in Greek mythology, maybe. And I try to stay out of studying anything at all that has come to me as a message, because it muddies the water with things. That's kind of and something that doesn't need explaining. So I never want to muddy the waters. But I started seeing something. I started seeing that when the Oracle of Delphi was receiving messages from Apollo, that the earth opened up, and maybe it was a metaphorical or energetic opening of planet Earth in direct connection to the Akashic record. So it might not have been a physical opening or a physical chasm that presented itself where the energy came up, but it was energetic. So what the Oracle of Delphi was providing as a service to Apollo was the fact that she not only was an open conduit for the messages, the frequency, the music, the vibration of change coming through every sun, star, and planet. She gave back to Apollo in that she had the capacity within her, within the fractal of Athena, Mary Magdalene, Oracle of Delphi. I could go on, but I think you get the point. In that power, in that fractalization of those beings deciding to incarnate and leave their imprint within the Akashic and within our DNA itself, meant that I, as the Oracle of Delphi, could speak, just like Athena could speak matters of war to a 5-year-old. As the Oracle of Delphi, I could open up energetically the ley lines of Earth and pull up the Akashic record and the frequency and how Earth and its people are adapting to the new energy. I could pull that back up through my body by creating a crack to the Akashic or a crack to the crystalline center of Earth, embody that. And when I did, and when I keep wanting to say the wrong name, when Apollo spoke those prophecies to me, he also received from me the happenings on planet Earth. So Apollo and I were exchanging Earth intel for cosmic intel. So that was pretty incredible. I just wanted to share this story with you to let you know that that fractal within the core of planet Earth, within the Akashic record, and within the turn on of your energetic, not physical DNA, that we are aligning with whatever tool. Some of us, it's the tarot cards. Some of us, it's a dowsing rod. It's different things for different people. But the DNA and the Akash and the energy are all coming to an alignment so that we are the best, highest versions of ourselves with all the gifts and all the tools that have been left within our body's DNA, within the Akashic record of Earth, stored within the ley lines and all the planetary bodies that give us this. And I wanted to tell this brief story so that you know when you get information, it's not so that you can, and I'm not telling you what to do, I'm telling you the bigger picture of it. For me was I needed the confidence to speak, right? I needed to speak what was sacred. I needed to use that throat chakra. I'd been holding in these messages from Ashtar, from Jesus, from Michael, from Athena for years and just not doing anything with them. I used that energy of the athlete, the goddess of prayer, to tap into the energy that I needed to tap into to get out of my little self-contained box of uncomfortability and get in front of you and tell these stories from the perspective in which they happened to me so that you can understand why these stories, why these characters, why these archetypes are built into the Akashic record and within your DNA. So I hope this makes sense, and I hope this was helpful. And I know even if you haven't experienced it, you've seen 500,000 people on Facebook with famous archetypes in their name. And this is the reason why they've left us great tools for assistance. And I thought, when I almost keep saying the wrong name, I don't know what's going on. I really have to close my eyes and think about it. When Ashtar told me that Athena was not the goddess of war, but the priestess of prayer, the priestess of making the manifestation happen, right? In the beginning, there was the word. That was Athena. That was the power of the voice. And that was the fractalization of the being that I needed to come to you and deliver the message. And though I knew to never get caught up, lost in, or let go of Tina and try to become something that I am not. And that is the reason why I, in general, don't speak about where the message comes from or what these people, how these people refer to me or things like that, because to me, it's all a learning experience. I don't want to stop your learning process by using a name that you love so much you can't concentrate on listening to me, or a name that doesn't have a resonation or a vibration within you that feels comfortable, and therefore you lose the message too. But I think it's important. This is coming on for everyone in the last couple years, and now we have a second wave, a major wave of the population that is now going to be connecting to this as well. Okay, so I wanted to make it as easy to understand. So know that that is the reason you see so much of this on social media, and know it's going to have another, outburst or overwhelm of that same connectedness to Mary Mother, Athena, Archangel Michael, all these different beings, because we now have a new wave that is experiencing something. So part of this November full moon, lunar eclipse, is that 80 minutes of complete darkness is a reset, energetic reset in the DNA. It's going to bring about stronger abilities for those that have abilities, and it's going to turn on abilities in people who have never had abilities. So if people are looking at you strange or driving strange or anything else, know that someone is driving down the road and just connected with, Mary Magdalene, or they're driving down the road and they've receiving psychic intuition, or all of a sudden they're reading the energetic imprint from the person in the car in front of them. This is going to make people feel strange and act strange. I've been acting strange my whole life. But there's a big group of people that are ready to jump on the weirdness bandwagon and celebrate the weird party with us. And I just wanted to let you know that through condensing my 7-year Athena story down into a hour-long video. I love you. I will be back soon. Thank you for being here. Bye.